Welcome to Channel 6 Scoreboard. I'm Lauren Daniel. On this week's show, Mitchell and Michael will be talking about what just went down here with the Bears versus UT Martin, and Chris and Sam will be talking about UCA volleyball and the Sugar Bear Classic.
Thanks for that, Lauren. Welcome back to the first episode of Scoreboard for the school year semester. Now, guys, we've got a bit to talk about after this weekend's game of football. The Bears come from behind to defeat UT Martin 26-24 Saturday in a game where each team played really only good for about one half. What did you guys see that was different from UCA in the second half?
Well, everything was pretty much different for the second half of the Bears. They came out extremely flat, not ready to play. UT Martin, we talked about last week, carried their momentum at the end of the Kentucky game over, where they scored in their final two drives. To this game, they came out, played pretty darn decent football. UCA was not ready. Field position switch really helped the Bears too. They were averaging getting the ball at their own 22. In the second half, they started getting at their own 36. And really, the second half, they scored on every possession, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and they finally put together some long, sustained drives. When this offense gets a long drive, such as the 9-play, 12-play, 13, 16-play drives, which they scored on, this offense, and they can score in 2 minutes, but when this offense puts together a long, sustained drive, that's when they do their best.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they came out sluggish in the first half. You know, they played a really good game at Texas Tech. You know, I figured coming home would be, you know, they would just carry that momentum like UT Martin did. But, yeah, I think the difference had to be the defense. They stood up in the second half and played really well. They stealed the game with the interception. You know, UCA outscored them 19-3 in the second half. So I think the coaches got to the defense during halftime and told them, hey, we can play better than this. Let's step up our game and let's go shut them down and win this game for a home crowd. So I think the defense was probably the biggest factor in the win.
So a little bit about the quarterback position now. So Ryan Howard led UCA in the final drive, replacing Reed, going 8 for 12 for 79 yards. Do you think this was the right decision by coach?
I obviously think it's the right decision. I mean, we won the game, so obviously, you know, if he can go in and, you know, play that well for that drive and then win this, or, you know, help win the game for us. So I definitely think it was a great decision to make. You know, I'm kind of interested to see who they, you know, pick for the starting quarterback next week, or who they're going to have more. But yeah, I think it was a great situation. I think if you have that problem to where you can put both those quarterbacks in and they both can win the game for us, you know, I think Taylor Reed could have done it, but obviously he wanted Ryan Howard in so that way he can pass the ball more, maybe get downfield a little quicker. So, yeah, I think the situation was handled fine. We got the win.
It's a nice problem to have when you have two quarterbacks that are good enough to where, all right, I can take you final drive or I can take you on the final drive. Just looking at the stats so Reed went 18 for 30 for 157 yards and touchdown for the game. He also had 10 rushes for 66 yards. Yep. He was averaging 6.5 yards per carry. Yep. UCA's running game was pretty non-existent for the exception of Reed, but he had 2 or 3 big runs. The rest of it were spaced here and there. Howard, first quarter, he came in and played for a drive. He was 1 of 3 for 13 yards. He got sacked on the drive. Took some time off, came back in. Second quarter, he's 1 of 2 for only 2 yards. Does not play at all in the third quarter. This is when UCA is making their pushback. Taylor Reed's doing fine. Offense is clicking. And then you bring him on the final drive. The only thing I have against it would be if Taylor Reed, if he's bringing your team back in the third quarter, I guess maybe Coach Campbell thought maybe they hit a little wall there. All right, let this final drive, you know, you've got us here, but let's let the senior take us to the promised land. And then Howard comes in 8 of 12, just on fire, 79 yards and a touchdown. If you're Taylor Reed, I don't know if that hurts your confidence. I mean, you were bringing them back, and then you don't get to finish the game on the final drive. Yeah. It was handled correctly because we won, and obviously Coach Campbell's working some things out. We've heard last week, you know, Ryan Howard has some nagging hamstring injuries. I guess he cannot play a full game. If you can't play a full game, then Coach Campbell's doing it right. If he can play a full game, then it's kind of up in the air because both quarterbacks are pretty even thus far.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you kind of wonder what would happen if we lost the game. You know, why? Yeah. You know, what if we lost the game and you put Ryan Howard in? So, you know, why would you screw up the momentum that we had going in the third quarter? So, you know, only coach knows the real reason why he put Ryan Howard in. But as long as we get the win, you know, nobody's going to complain. But if he puts him in and we lose the game someday, then obviously people are going to have questions and, you know, wonder why we mixed up.
Do you think it's something that we should be concerned about, that quarterback Taylor Reed led all rushers in yards during this game?
I think it's a little concerning. You don't, in this conference, and we talked about in the end of the scoreboard editions last year, we play some teams year in, year out in the Southland Conference that can run the football, ground and pound. And we know UCA can throw the ball, but we've always said if this team can have a established run game, how dangerous they really can be. And through 2 games, Willie Matthews, 34 carries for 138 yards so far through 2 games. He has 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 69 yards a game. And then Taylor Reed's right behind him. He's got 24 rushes for 95 yards in this season, 1 touchdown. It's concerning because, like we were just saying, Ryan Howard might not be 100%. If you're having Taylor Reed rush 10 times a game, all it takes is 1 play, and Ryan Howard's got to be out there. And if he's not 100%, then you're in trouble. And then teams can kind of like, all right, we're going to focus on your passing game because you're really not going to scare us running the football.
Yeah, the teams that win the championships are the ones that have a good running game and a good passing game. If your quarterback is leading you in rushing for the season, then obviously there's a big problem, and that's something that we need to establish early. We have running backs on this team that we can put. I know a couple of them are banged up, but you still have people like Jatavius Wilson, who you can put back there, and he can run the ball. He's quick. If he gets on the edge, he's going to get some yards. So I definitely think that is a huge concern that UCA has, because if we can't establish the running game early before conference play starts, then the defenses that we play are just going to continually get better and stronger, because the Southland Conference is playing pretty good ball. McNeese State played Nebraska this past weekend, and they played really good. So, we have a really good conference. So if we don't establish the running game early in the season, then I think we're going to have a big concern coming into conference play. And, I think a quarterback leading and rushing is just sad to see. And definitely, it's like on the defense side of the ball, if your D-backs, like your corners and safety, lead the team in tackles, then you have a serious problem. Right. And it's the same thing on offense. If your quarterback leads the team in rushing, then yes, there's a big concern, and you need to fix it quick.
I understand why people may be concerned about this, but we also need to notice that quarterback Taylor Reed, he can run the ball, and he can run the ball all day.
Right.
And we had people like Willie Matthews, who's actually got a fractured toe at the moment,
Yeah.
so they're trying to take some pressure off Willie Matthews. And if Taylor can run the ball and he's doing good at it, go for him. But we don't want an injury like some others happened last year.
But him running more just means the injury, like him getting injured, it goes up. And then if he gets injured, then we're down to 1 quarterback. I don't mind Taylor Reed running on plays that are designed for him to run, but just leading the team, like hand the ball off more to other people.
That's what I was going to say. You might want to go a little less from the packages of the designed runs. From 20 to 20, we need to use more of the running backs. And maybe if you get in the red zone or something, you want to do a quarterback draw if you're going to spread the field wide open. But you can't help it if he's having to run for his life or something like that out of the pocket, and he's having to pick up those yardages. But the designed runs are probably going to have to come down, and the running backs are going to step it up.
Yeah, so the UCA defence come up with a massive stop at the end of the game, and now both through the 2 games that they've played, they've come up with big stops. What are your impressions about the defense of this year's team?
They're young, but they're scrappy. They always seem to fly around the ball. Jonathan Woodard had 7 tackles, so look for his leadership to be, one of the big factors in the defense. And they just, they played well the second half of the game. They kind of looked a little sluggish during the first half, but the second half they came together, like I talked about. And like I said, they're a young team, but they're coming together as a group and playing well. When Dylan Winfrey comes back from his injury, the defense I think will look a lot better. He's one of the guys that we have on the back end of the defense that plays really well. He's a strong player. He's one that we can use all around, especially on kickoff return and punt returns. So the defense is young, but they're coming together as a group. And I think once conference time gets here, they're going to be a lot better than they are now.
I would say the phrase to use with this defense, and you hear it a million times, a bend but don't break defense. They're giving up yards. The teams are so far they're averaging giving up 523.5 yards per game. Texas Tech had well over 600. But part of the games that really excite me is they forced 3 turnovers so far. They picked off Davis Webb twice on the road. They got an interception in this game against UT Martin. However, they only have 1 sack on the season. They're not getting the defensive line. Now granted, they play Texas Tech, who's as soon as the snap comes
they're
back there, boom, they're a quick screen game, quick passes. You're not going to get too much pressure on Texas Tech. I think against UT Martin, you should have seen a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, especially with them coming out as poor as they did in the first half. That could have been a really big emphasis for the defense. Let's come out and let's end this game early instead of having to come up and make another big play at the end. But at least they're there. They do have a safety on the year. They have 5 guys with double-digit tackles. Mm-hmm. They're getting there. They're a scrappy bunch. They're flying around with the ball, but most importantly, they're making the big plays when they have to make the big play.
I think we've got a really younger team compared to who we did have last year. We've got some massive shoes to fill. We lost Jay Love and we lost Justin Hurd, who were massive defensive plays for us. So they're going to give some of the younger guys a shot. And the good thing about that is that Coach Campbell's not only going to have them for this year, but for next year as well. So he can turn them into players that he wants to develop them into, which I think is going to be helpful. But I mean, whether they be able to sustain how they're playing now through the whole semester, or whether they're going to be scrappy, I guess it's something that we're just going to have to wait and see.
And there's some guys banged up on defense, and we're going to have to get some younger guys more playing time. Now's when you want them to get the playing time. On the road, you got a game at Montana State. That's a good test for some younger guys. The one stat that really bothers me too, opponents are 8 for 10 in the red zone against UCA on the season. They've scored 7 touchdowns and 1 field goal. That's just, you have to have better defense inside the red zone, or the season, it could be a long season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the stat that stood out to me was just that we came out the second half and won the game 19-3, and that's what we're going to talk about now is the stats that just surprised us. And I definitely think that the way we played in the second half shows that, hey, we may fall behind in games, but we're gonna get together and we can pull out victories. But hopefully we can become a team that plays consistently like that the whole game instead of a second half team. But I would much rather be a second half team than a first half team and fall apart. So that's definitely a stat to look for. And yeah, the red zone thing is definitely something we have to continue to work on, because once teams get down that red zone, I mean, if we can't stop the run or stop that pass, then obviously we're gonna have a hard time keeping up, because I don't see our team being as explosive as they were last year. I mean, yeah, we can score points, but it just seems like we're kind of slowing the pace down a little bit. So if they continue to score on us, I don't know if we can keep up.
So if we put ourselves in Coach Campbell's shoes right now, who would you start on the road against Montana State?
Well, I'm going to go, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Taylor, I mean, we've gotten the job done with Taylor Reed to start the game off. I guess if you have to keep doing the 2-quarterback system, I mean, Ryan Howard coming in for a series here, I think it was amazing for him to be able to come in on the final series of the game, go 8 for 12, considering he was in for 1 series in the first quarter, 1 series the second quarter, nothing in the third quarter. Yeah. That shows the preparation, that Ryan Howard's involved in the sidelines, everything's good there. I would start Taylor Reed, but you're getting 3 games into the season now. If Ryan Howard's not going to be healthy, then I think this is where you have to go, all right, Taylor, he needs to maybe start and finish a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that he needs to pick a quarterback, and if Taylor Reed starts the game against Montana State, then he should play the whole game. So I don't really know who he's going to pick. I'm leaning towards him picking Taylor Reed to start the game, but I definitely think Ryan Howard's going to get some playing time, obviously. But hopefully it doesn't come down to like this last week. Hope it doesn't come down to the last drive and he throws somebody else in. But I think Taylor Reed's going to get the start because he played most of the game this past weekend.
I mean, all right, well, I'm going to take an opposite approach to you two. I agree with that the philosophy that you have, if it's not broken, why fix it? But also, Ryan Howard stepped in last year when the leading quarterback starter, Winrick Smothers, got injured. And, I mean, we all saw what he did and what he came up with last year. And, I mean, no one would have expected Ryan to play if Winrick hadn't got injured. So I think his efforts last year were really good. And I feel like he hasn't really got the chance to prove himself this year. He keeps coming in off the bench, so he's not warmed up. He's not starting the game. I mean, he came in for the last 5 minutes of the game against Texas Tech, and we all saw what he did then. And he did some good throws and everything. So I think why not give him a chance to start? I mean, doesn't he deserve it after what he did last year?
If he's healthy coming off of this game, the way he ended the game, by all means, if you're healthy, let's see what you got, and then switch it back. Now, Taylor, we're going to bring you off. I mean, then you'd really have yourself just a quarterback position, up for grabs.
And see who does well in practice this week.
So what do you think our keys are that the UCA Bears need to have if they want to beat Montana State?
I think they got to play to their strengths. Establish a running game early, get up on this team early in the first half, and then, make sure you play a full game. Make sure you come out and play to your strengths the whole game. Don't be a second half team. Don't be just a first half team. Come out and play well, and then definitely stop their offense. They have a really explosive quarterback who can run and pass the ball, and a really good running back. So if we can do that, I will give us a chance to win, but I do think Montana State's going to win just because if we're playing up there, it's going to be kind of a difference in temperature for sure. I think the high's like 60-something, and that's crazy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great weather.
Nice
but
to have some nice cooler weather.
We're not used to that around here, especially in September. So I think I'm going to give Montana State the edge. I think they're going to win by, I'm going to say, a touchdown or maybe even 2. I definitely think they're going to pull away at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Montana State played at Arkansas State to open their season. Arkansas State has a dual-threat quarterback by the name of Freddie Knighton. Freddie Knighton had 15 carries in that game for 104 yards. He averaged nearly 7 yards a carry. So my keys to victory, start on the offensive side, Taylor Reed, assuming he starts. This could be his game to, we talked about stop calling some design runs, but this might be the game to where you can see a few more design runs because Arkansas State, the UCA is going to look at the film against the Arkansas State game. Okay, well, they had success in the quarterback option game, misdirection here and there in the backfield, short passing game in the screens. If they can get Taylor Reed involved pretty quick, I think he can go for over 100 yards against this Montana State defense. My key to victory on the defensive side, do what you've been doing so far this season, win the turnover battle in the game. As long as this offense continues to be turnover-free and the defense gets the 1 or 2 they've been getting every game, I think there's another shot. I'm going to go opposite of you. UCA wins by 10, 41, 31.
Well, go ahead.
So we've got some big predictions. I think we just need to not come out flat.
Yeah,
I mean, we played our first home game. I thought they'd be more pumped up than what they were. They came out in front of a home crowd of about 11,000 almost. If I was them, I'd really want to show what we've got and come out, but I feel like they just came out flat. And if they come out flat against Montana State, I think they're going to get bowled over.
They're going to have a really big crowd on hand because this is their first true home game, so I definitely think the crowd may play a factor in their game. And they're going to come out fired up, I think, just because they got blown out by Arkansas State. They don't want that to be, how people know them.
Right.
And definitely being a top 25 team, obviously people think they're good, and, whether it's offense or defense. So for some reason, I just think that Montana State's going to come out ready to play, and UCA's not going to be ready for it. But it's going to be a close game until the end.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a tough road game. This is not a place where you're going to go in expecting it's going to be a packed house there. They're very good. They have been a very good football team for years. The other thing I want to mention, UCA ran 86 plays against UT Martin for 399 yards. UT Martin ran 20 less plays at 66, but picked up 12 more yards than UCA. Yep. If UCA's offense is going to run as many plays, they've been averaging 90 plays a game this season. If they're only going to average 400 yards total offense in the 90 plays, that's trouble.
Yep.
That means it's a lot of 3 and outs. And that's something this defense needs to be on the field hardly at all. The offense needs to control this game and go with their long, sustained 7-8 minute drives.
Well, I guess you just have to stay tuned to see how the UCA Bears go against Montana State. I'm Kelsey Williams, and I've been joined today by Michael and Mitchell. We're about to pitch it out to Jake Kirk, and Mitchell will come back hosting the volleyball game.
All right, what's up, guys? It's Jake Kirk. I'm out here, man on the street. Game day, UCA's home opener right now. We're on Bruce. We're going to take it to the street to see if these guys know their UCA trivia. What is UCA mascot's full name?
Roosty Bear.
All right. That's correct. What is UCA's mascot's full name?
Bernie the Bear.
Incorrect.
Sugar Bear Sia.
I'm going to go with Victor E. Bear.
That's incorrect. What is the name of the conference that UCA's in?
The Southland Conference.
Correct.
I got one.
What is the name of the conference that UCA's in?
D1 Sia.
Southland Conference.
Starts with an S. Come on, Peyton.
I know it's the South.
Who is the new head football coach's name?
Jay-Z. We got a new head football coach?
Yeah, we got
I don't know for basketball.
No, we got a new head football coach.
Mr. Scott. Coach Scott.
Incorrect.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I got that one. I got him. Come on, I need an answer.
Oh, God.
I don't know anymore. I need an answer.
I don't know.
I need a answer.
Oh.
Victory Bear.
I don't know. Go Bears.
I don't know that one. I got him.
Steve Campbell.
What was the last year that UCA won a conference title?
I literally have no idea. Was it last year? Well, no, it was the year before that.
What year would that be?
2012.
Boom.
Let me check my ring. 2012.
That's correct.
It's 2012.
Correct. All right, we just finished up at the UCA tailgate. No one, unfortunately, went 5 for 5 on the trivia questions. So hopefully next week they can impress me a little bit more and show the real UCA spirit. Tune in next week and we'll have some more questions for you.
Welcome back to Scoreboard. I'm Mitchell Morgan, now a host, and I'm joined by Chris Caldwell and Samantha Houdon. We're going to talk about a little UCA volleyball. Okay, so the Sugar Bears are out to a 1-5 start. Did y'all expect this slow start to the season?
It's definitely not a start that I expected, simply because of the success the Sugar Bears have had in the past few seasons and with Coach Dan McFatridge. But then I thought about it overnight, and they're playing a lot harder schedule than they did last year before they started conference play. I mean, this year they're playing teams like Oregon and Ohio State and, Tulsa, Boise State. And then this weekend coming up, they're going to play teams like LSU and Florida State. So they're definitely trying to prepare themselves for, I would say, a postseason run, but definitely not what I expected. So I'm a little shocked by a 1-5 start because they should have won against Ohio State, and they definitely should have beaten Boise State.
I'm going to go with that. It's just an adjustment period. We knew it was going to be different losing Marissa Collins, Jessica Nagy. Players like that were key players in last year's season. So to lose them, we have to rethink and readjust to what we're going to do. It's still early in the season. I think that it's fine that their schedule has been harder, like Chris said, but with a harder season, it just gets them more prepared for the season to come.
Okay.
And they've also lost Scout Brooks for the entire season after an injury in the alumni game, which is supposed to be a lot of fun, but apparently someone took a little serious.
But playing these harder teams definitely does prepare them for conference play. And talking about that, how do you think they're going to bounce back and be able to compete against conference opponents?
I think they're going to be just fine. I think the Southland Conference is one that they dominate in no matter how the beginning of the season goes. They have a stacked team. The hits are right. The setter, Amy South, is killing it out there. So I think if they keep it all together, get their passing under control, with this hard season to start with, it's really just getting them prepared for Southland.
Yeah, I agree completely. When you play a tough, pre-conference schedule like this, you're really preparing your athletes to deal with adversity. Looking at Florida State, LSU, teams like that, you don't expect the Sugar Bears to come out and win those games just because we're a smaller university. Those schools are going to have a lot more height, and they're going to have a lot more aggression. The string training might be better. I expect the Sugar Bears to struggle against teams that are from SEC or ACC type conferences. Now, will this translate over to the Southland Conference? I feel it will, just because they're dealing with having to deal with not having Scout Brooks right now, who's a senior leader, who was preseason all-conference, everything like that. She's someone that you expect to see in front of, the net, and you expect her to have a decent amount of kills every game. And then you're dealing with the fact that you're losing, like Sam said, Marissa Collins, Jessica Nagy, players like that. And that's tough to deal with. So these young players who are getting playtime, like Evie Grace Singleton, or you're looking at Megan Nash coming in as a freshman getting early playtime. This is great for them because they're dealing with adversity at an early time period instead of waiting until Southland Conference play.
Yeah, and y'all talked about Scout Brooks being out for the year. So do y'all think her absence will continue to affect the team?
I think it's going to continue to affect the team only as long as they allow it to affect them. I mean, you look at Scout Brooks' stats from last year. She 249 kills, averaging 2.24 a set. She's a very important player. She's everywhere, and she's definitely very emotional when it comes to playing for the Sugar Bears. But it's only going to affect the team as long as they allow it to affect them.
I think Scout Brooks was a key player. I think hopefully maybe they'll get that medical red shirt for her and she would sit out and come back next season. But I don't think they're struggling at the net. From what I saw, it wasn't their hitting that was getting them down. It was their passing. It was the serves they would miss. You can't miss serves in a game. It just can't happen because those are easy points. They're easy over the nets to get the set rolling again. I think Scout Brooks being out, it stinks. It really does for her and the team. But Evie Grace Singleton stepped to the plate. Like, she was killing it this weekend in the tournament from when I finally got to see her play. And I think her hits are powerful, and Heather Schnarr also at the net out there. So I think those two players are key. If we can keep them rolling, we can't really worry about Scout Brooks at this point because she's not coming back this season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we talked about it before the show started. 125 hitting errors. 125 hitting errors. They've got 48 service reception errors. Just communication and things like that as the serve comes over the net. It's the little things that's going to get them over the hump. So Samantha's 100% right.
Yeah, and another key player for the Sugar Bears is definitely Amy South. And do you think the coaches and fans can feel confident in her leading the offensive attack for this volleyball team?
Absolutely. She was on fire this weekend. It was really exciting to watch her. She's little. I say little. She's my size. She's 5'7", but she is fast. She's powerful, and she is always there. She's going to get that second ball no matter what it takes, and she's going to have a perfect set every single time. She's amazing.
Yeah, I agree completely. Samantha had a good comment earlier before we started. She's like, I don't know why everybody was freaking out about losing Marissa Collins, and I really don't see why either. If you look at Amy South so far, she's got 213 assists. She's averaging 10.1 per set. Okay, we'll look at Marissa Collins, who averaged 11.91 per set her senior year. So she's right on that level, and you have Amy South for a whole nother year after this because she's only a junior. So she may be small, but the things that she can do on the court with her agility and how she can read defenses, I feel like she's going to be perfectly fine leading the offensive attack. And
I said this earlier to Chris, too, talking about that. Marissa was great, but Amy got to follow her. Like, she followed her. She practiced with her every time, and she has the same coaches. So, I mean, those years that she sat on the bench, she really just learned everything she needed to know to step in and fill the shoes, and she's done that.
All right, so conference play is coming up. I know the tournament's a little ways away, but what are the chances, or what do y'all think, if UCA has a chance to defend their title?
Chris always smiles at me because I always have the highest hopes for our Sugar Bears, and I really think they can do it. I think that the conference is scared of them. They should be, and they are. And I think for them to come in this season, they're playing strong. Like, they're not playing weak, they're just playing better teams. Yeah. And so when they start playing on those teams' level, they're going to be killing the Southland Conference.
Yeah, and it's funny that I'm actually going to agree with you on this one. The Sugar Bears are definitely prepared to take on the Southland Conference. Evie Grace Singleton's played amazing over this tournament that we just saw. Amy South is playing amazing. Heather Schnars is still Heather Schnars. I mean, when she serves, it's like a bullet over the top of the net. And Fulani Pettis is still Fulani. The way that she attacks that ball and strikes it is impressive. Now, one player that's really going to have to step up for the Sugar Bears, though, is Alicia Dietrich, because she's a senior leader. She's one of those other preseason all-conference players. And when we saw her step up in the Sugar Bear Classic, she stepped up big, and it was great for the Sugar Bears. But she's got to be that other outside hitter for the Sugar Bears, because you've got Fulani smack dab in the middle, you've got Evie Grace Singleton coming from the outside, and you've got Heather Schnars coming from the outside. But you have to have Alicia Dietrich to be on, because when those 5 players are playing the way they can play at their best, Sugar Bears are unstoppable. And we all know that Coach McFatridge is a strategic coach. Just like we saw against Tulsa, they were down late in the set. Instead of having his shorter players out there, he pulled all of his 5'10" plus players out to play defense, got the serve back, and the next thing you know, they're scoring and rallying. Yeah. So with McFatridge's brain and the athletic ability of those 5, there's no doubt in my mind they can win the Southland again.
And Evie Grace was somebody we really didn't expect probably at the beginning of the year to see much playing time from, but she has completely stepped up on the outside. I thought her kills were strong, and her serves were they reminded me a lot of Heather Schnars. They were powerful, and girls were not returning them.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you. That would do it. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Samantha, for joining me to talk about volleyball. Tune in next week as we have another episode of Scoreboard.